Dobre jutro. Good morning. Father Michael here. So, in Father Michael News, my YouTube channel, Raw Grace, is up, and there are several hundred of these little episodes available for your viewing pleasure, if you so wish. And the big change coming is by next Friday at this time, I will also have some guided meditations put up on the site. I've got the music tracks all laid out and queued up, and I just need to tweak the home studio a little bit before I actually sit down and do those recordings. So a lot of you who know me and have known me for a minute and have done guided meditation with me, you've been bugging me for over a year now to do this, and I'm finally doing it. Finally got all of the T's crossed and the I's dotted. Last Sunday's gospel reading was from the 6th chapter of John's gospel. The story of how Jesus fed 5,000 people on the golf course with only, a few loaves of pita bread and a couple of fish. It starts out with Jesus telling the apostles to feed them. And they freak out. They're just stupefied that such a thing would even be thought of, that they could somehow feed all these people. And so the apostle Philip steps up and says, bro, we don't have money. There's no way that we can fix this problem. They should have brought their own damn lunch. It's not our problem. But the apostle Andrew says something else. He says, we can't fix the problem, but we do have this kid here. This kid has a couple pita breads and a couple fish. It ain't much, but what the heck? Two possible responses to a gigantic, urgent need. We live in a world of gigantic issues that need to be addressed. And just like Philip, the tendency is for us to throw up our hands and say, oh, I'm so powerless, God. I can't do a damn thing about this. You're going to have to swoop and fix this yourself, because there ain't nothing I can do. But there are other times when we can say with total integrity, okay, I get that I can't fix the whole problem, but I can do a little something to help somebody caught up in this issue, whatever the issue happens to be. If you want to hear a whole sermon on that, go back to the Facebook page for last Sunday. I think the sermon's called Never Nothing on the Holy Redeemer Old Catholic Community page, and same sermon on the Grace St. John's UCC Fort Wayne page. Different title. I don't know why. That's the thing. We're surrounded by giant issues. We are the disciples. And Jesus is saying to you and to me, hey, you there on the sofa watching Netflix, are you really going to watch all the episodes again of that show? We got stuff to do. We got some big issues to tackle. What are you doing? And we get stuck sometimes on the enormity of the problems. For example, how do we get all the food that we waste in this country to the people who need it? It starts at home, maybe. Think of all the food that we throw away because, oh, I don't eat leftovers. Oh, I'm not in the mood for that. I'm going to go out to dinner instead. When there's some damn food in the house. I'm as guilty as anybody else. When I was in my 20s, I worked at the local hospital for a short time in the kitchen. And the people working on the tray line, the people who plop the food on your tray before it comes up to your room, slightly chilled, those people are kids, basically, high school and young college students, most of them trying to work, a little part-time action so they've got some money in their pocket. We're not talking privileged white kids. We're talking people who just need a part-time job to get some cash. And so there was tons of food being literally thrown away every night because in an institutional setting, you can't reheat or reserve any entrees to the patients. So it has to be thrown away. That's messed up. So I decided as the evening supervisor that this was bullshit. And I was not going to throw away 50 cheeseburgers. And so I let the college people have whatever they wanted. They ate, they took, they wrapped it up, they took it home in their backpacks and purses and all that. And of course, I got in trouble. Story of my life. And I tried to argue the point. And the point was well taken. Yeah, we get it. We're wasting food, but that's the way it is. We can't do anything about it. Yes, damn it. There is something we can do about it. We could have let these hungry kids eat. What the hell? That's one issue, the food issue in this country. How do we get, and this is another issue, how do we get enough medical supplies, PPE, and vaccines to third world countries that are struggling today as we sit here? West Africa comes to mind. Hospitals are beyond capacity with COVID patients. They don't have enough ventilators. People are dying. Speaking of white privilege. Nothing is really happening there. How do we beef up that assistance? How do we fix that problem? How do we end the opioid epidemic in this country once and for all? How do we stop the influx of drugs by the cartels? How do we stop the increasingly large number of overdoses and deaths among teenagers and 20-somethings all around us? In this state alone, it's at least one death a day. Teens to 20-somethings a day. Many of them have young children. And God forbid, we adopt those children. Oh, no. We're going to make our own babies because we're white and we're privileged. How do we fix that? How do we, in light of this unconscionable backlash against Simone Biles, someone who had the courage to admit that her mental health had gotten a hold of her and she just couldn't shake herself out of it. How do we, in light of that backlash by privileged white males, talking heads primarily on the screen, and it's not just a criticism of Simone Biles, because by extension, it is a loud and resounding condemnation of everybody with a mental health issue. How do we get grown ass white privileged males of privilege to find compassion? How do we fix that? The temptation is to be just like the Apostle Philip and say, okay, God, the problem is too big. I can't do a damn thing about it, so sorry, you're going to have to swoop and fix this because I can't do anything. But what about the other option? What about the response of the Apostle Andrew? We could choose that response instead. We could admit that even though we cannot fix the whole problem, we can do our small part to at least do something to make someone's life better. I was talking with someone just a couple days ago, someone who has a family member that has been in and out of treatment, struggling with heroin, pills. They go into recovery, they do well for a minute, and then they fall off the wagon and they're back in their relapse, and then they go back into recovery and they do well for a minute, and then they go back into their relapse, and all of that repeatedly. I told her that I did that work. I was bored, literally, in my early retirement. I needed something to do, some reason to get up in the morning. I've worked multiple jobs almost my entire life. So when I retired from teaching 4+ years ago, literally in midweek, walked off, I knew after a few months, I need to do something else here because this is boring. The drug problem is near and dear to my heart because I was stuck with my own addictive behavior not that long ago. And I know that feeling of hopelessness, and I know that darkness that surrounds us, and we think this is just how it is. We can't even conceive of another way of living, another way of life. And I told this woman, I don't have any illusions, any grandiosity thinking, well, Father Michael's in town, so, he's the new sheriff. We're going to fix this shit. And it's not going to happen. But that being said, maybe I can save a life or two. Don't have any illusions about my superpowers. But if I can save a couple lives, maybe a couple lives that would not have found a reason to live beyond their addictive behavior if I hadn't interacted with them, man, I would be humbled and thrilled with that. Totally good with that. Do we need to work on public policy on all these issues? Hell yes. Do we need to maybe change some laws? Oh, yes, we probably do. Do we need to get our head out of our ass about things like needle exchanges and stop this ridiculous pietistic horseshit that somehow by doing that we're making the problem worse? We're not making it worse. We're giving these people another day to live so that maybe they can find their way out of the damn hole of addiction. Yes, we need to rethink that. Do we maybe need universal health care so that everybody who wants treatment can actually access it? Because right now, here's how it is. Only 10% of the people who actually want treatment for alcohol or drugs can afford to get it. 10%. All the treatment centers in the entire damn country are running at full capacity right now. The waiting list is huge. 90% don't have insurance and don't have the money to pay for that with cash because it's expensive. So do we need universal insurance? Maybe a little compassion, in this country? Yes, let's do that. Let's do those, systemic changes. But in the meantime, and in addition to that, we have to just step up. You and I. Yeah, we can't fix the whole damn problem. God doesn't expect that. But at the end of the day, God does expect us to get off our ass, turn off Netflix, and do something. Something. Anything to step up. Bring your 5 pita breads and your 2 measly fish and bring that to the table so at least somebody can eat well today. Pray with me. Loving God, God of abundance, God of compassion, we come into your presence today looking for ways to bring our small resources, our pita breads and fish, to the table set before us. Help us today, especially those of us who are white males, to look closely in the mirror at our arrogance and privilege, even when we don't see it or don't think we have it. Teach us humility and generosity in this day. Show us little ways that we can move closer to your dream for all humanity. That great dream we call the kingdom, the realm of God. And if we are feeling powerless today, reassure us as we look at our own giftedness and abilities. Reassure us that while we may not be able to feed the whole 5,000 people gathered in front of us, we can at least do something. And for that, we feel nothing but gratitude. Keep us on track. Amen. Have a great Friday.